What's up, everybody? We're back with another episode. And today I have a gentleman that's been working with us for a decent amount of time. And we were at dinner the other day, and I found out that he was absolutely crushing it. He's in one of our bigger agency clients, and he's just a consistent overall guy. But I think that he's going to also have some good gems for not only new agents, but even experienced agents on the importance of having systems and being diligent. But none other than Cole, bro. Thank you for hopping on today.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys.
Of course, brother. Of course. All right, cool. So, to pop it off, man. Tell us a little bit about like how did you get into the life insurance space?
Yeah, so finished up college, and in my junior, senior year of college in the summers, I was doing pest control and knocking doors. So I actually came into insurance with 2 years experience of like door knocking, kind of the harder training you could say. And that kind of is where I built my foundation. I had a lot of insurance people hit me up at the time, and I was like, nah, there's no way it's real. And I actually had a good friend I played college football with, which we all know. He's a dog, and he was like, "Yeah, man, you ever thought about remote sales?" I was like, "Nah, nah, I'm knocking doors, man. I'm gonna make six figures knocking doors." And little did I know, I didn't make six figures knocking doors, and I was like a top performer over there. And I finally one day was on the doors, hit him up, and I was like, "Yo, you really think this is legit? Like, you think this is something that could like change people's lives?" He's like, yeah, man, like I haven't even gotten started and I've seen an impact. So I started to get my license, and we're all kind of from the Illinois area. So there was already a good network. Kind of started hopping in the Discord, listening to some of these guys sell. And I was like, oh man, I can do this. Like I literally knock doors and get people's credit cards who don't even want me there. So like I can talk to a warm lead.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of how it all got started. It just came from, sales experience, door to door, moved over into the life insurance, and then I've been here about 9 months now. So yeah.
Dude, 100%, man. Before we even get into that, I actually want to have a backdrop. What do you feel like door-to-door sales taught you when it comes to now? Like, what do you feel like some of those traits are that you
Yeah.
carried along? Uh,
Man, yeah, I think the big one is literally like the technicality of a sale. Like what you learn in door to door is it is face to face, so you learn like all the nonverbal, communications with head nods and hand movements, and then like the way you downtone and tonality. And when I came over to the remote life insurance space, we're a part of a big agency now, right? And the one thing I learned is like the trainings. It wasn't too like technical, and I was like, "Whoa, this is different." Because like in door to door, we're down to like how people look at you, and then in insurance, like with your voice, a lot of people didn't pay attention. So right away, when I started training guys and I started to bring things over, the first thing I noticed was the way that the sale happens and how it's like for me personally, like I have that system we're talking about, and that just works for me and it makes me efficient. That's the biggest thing. A few other big things were just they're warm leads, so I could literally call people and like either they're like, oh, I did fill that out a long time ago, or I just filled it out, and I'm like, wow, there's actually intention. So building value on a warm lead is a lot easier than building value on a cold door. So warm leads are definitely a lot better as well.
yeah, no, 100%. I did door-to-door for a little bit before I got into life insurance years ago, and I think that it was like a very solid foundation that
Yeah.
now looking back, I'm like, dude, I didn't realize how beneficial that was.
Yeah, I tell a lot of if you guys like check out my Instagram, everything a lot of things I talk about is door to door kind of formed me into who I am, and I'm grateful for the experience. I think it's an amazing opportunity, but I always believed it was never the right vehicle.
Mm.
And now that I've like went through the suck, which I call like boot camp. Now that I went through boot camp, it's like now that I'm in the right vehicle, it's like we're only just gonna go up from here.
100%, bro. 100%. Speaking of that, let's talk about your first 30 days. I love talking about this. How was your first 30 days? Did you get your teeth kicked in? Did you come out ripping? Like, tell the listeners how that went, bro.
Yeah, so first 30 days, it was humbling. I mean, with 2 years of door-to-door experience, I was still had like all these notes out, and I'm like shaking on the phone call trying to figure out what to do with Miss Mary while I'm selling these, old time because that's what
Mm.
I was running.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is like terrifying. Age leads, man. And I did actually close the first sit I ever got on. The first pickup I did
Yeah.
close. And then after that, I got my tea kicked in for probably like 2 straight weeks. Just trying to learn the reins of it, trying to understand like how to get into it, whatever. But my first 30 days was cool because I did take the risk right away and just start getting into live, fresh leads. And
Mhm.
I just kept doubling down over and over. And I didn't really come in with a lot of money. I know a lot of door to door guys, if they're successful, they come in with some bread. But with me at the time, to be honest, probably like $800. I think probably is where I was sitting at. To be honest, like in an actual checking account. And I just went in, started buying some fresh leads, and just learning the process. You got to ask a ton of questions, be in the community with your team all the time, listen to people sell. Like, you just got to be a sponge. And if you are, I mean, you'll still get humbled, but you'll learn super quick.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, there's a few things I want to break down. You came in your first 30 days and you started running aged, and then when did you switch to fresh, or did you start with fresh leads in like that first day?
So I started unaged for like the
Right.
first 3 days, and I was like, oh no, I ain't doing this. And then I went and I bought fresh leaf.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Pros and cons of that experience in your opinion.
Pros, running aged, you get to learn a ton of objections, you get to learn a ton of smoke screens, and you get to learn how to talk to people on a phone call, which is nice. And then when you build that little foundation, you can move into fresh, and then like you realize it's a lot simpler of a sale. So I do recommend people, hey, go get your teeth kicked in. Like, you need it. I still dialed aged throughout the, before I got to you guys, before we started working together. Even when I was dialing fresh, I still had a packet aged just because you could dial all day with that. So it was good practice. But yeah, man, the biggest difference is literally just the intent. Like, you get on that phone call and so like it's so easy to build value and logical value and emotional when they just fill that form out to protect somebody.
Right. No, 100%. That's a very interesting process to come in and go too fresh. Just a quick question. Do you feel like when you were going through that process of like learning, how you kind of said you felt like you got your teeth kicked in, what
Yeah.
were you thinking about? Like, were you just more or less like, man, like I'm gonna get past this in the next 60 days? Were you like frustrated? Were you like upset? Did you go through any major hurdles in that first 30 days? Or was it like after that, while you were paying, you were like, okay, this is just a process. Like I'm in, like you said, that boot camp, training camp phase. Or what was your like mindset during those 30 days while you were kind of going through getting your teeth kicked in?
I think everybody questions it, when they first start. I mean, when I first realized I needed to buy leads to like get something fresh, that was new for me because in door to door, I just go out and knock. But the more time I spent in the business, as in, I started seeing other people. Like, one thing the team did is they would post when they bought leads, and I was like, oh, everybody's investing, and that's when it kind of helped me start to invest. But to be honest, everybody faces hurdles. I mean, I remember, if you guys want the real, like the real, real. I went
Yeah.
on to Klarna, buy now, pay later, and I put all my fresh leads on that just so I could see cash flow into the bank account. So
Mm,
even so, like, I start, like, let's say I had 2 grand in the bank account, and like the Klarna I was paying off, like I might have like 2 grand in Klarna, but I only got to pay every 2 weeks. So I know as long as I keep selling over and over and over, eventually the bank account outgrows the Klarna.
right.
So I think
Right.
at one time, like, if it, like you started to see the separation, and it went from like, now my bank account holds off, I paid off all the Klarna, and then I just stuck to cash flow the rest of the time I've been in the business. But I had to
Mm,
trust the process, because there was multiple times, even in the first 60 days, where I'm like, damn, man, I don't know how this is going. Like, I'm trusting the process, but
right.
like, you got doubts because I'm remote at the time. I'm not in an office, so I'm sitting there by myself in my own apartment. Like, everyone has doubts in those moments, man. But you have to trust it, because like one of our mentors says, like, if that person did it, you can do it.
Right.
Like, no one's better than anybody else. And I like all these guys I saw seeing successful. I'm like, man, I have 2 years of door to door experience. Like, I can do this. Like, I got to
Mm.
trust my process, and I'm glad I trusted the process.
Nah, 100%, bro. No, I think that's super important for people to understand and know too. Like, it's not always going to be
Yeah.
perfect when it comes to making sure that those systems are set up specifically for you. And then, it's not always going to be perfect when you get to the point where you're able to kind of turn a profit. But now transitioning, I guess, walk me through that. Like, how was the process when you did turn a profit and like actually start picking up success and
Yeah.
like what did that look like? Were you running the same leads? I guess walk us through what that looked like for you, bro.
Yeah. So it was actually pretty cool how it all happened. It was like all at the same time. Not only did my sales process start to kind of to turn into the good, to where I didn't, need to look at a roadmap anymore. I started to actually logically make sense, to where I started to apply my door to door, I think you would say, where I was like starting to understand, like, oh, I know the product, I know how to do the application. Now I just focus on talking to the client. Once that started happening, that's when we started to actually work with you guys. And I literally have a big customer sheet with all the drop down on if they were final expense or vets or what they were. I don't. I never sold vets, like, ever. And I heard one of my friends selling a vet from, like, on Phoenix that we have, and I was like, man, that sounds good. I was like, okay, like, man, he's not even really using like any tonality. Like, he's just straight to the point. And so then I was like, okay, like that's pretty cool. So I tried some vets out and I was like starting to like this. Then it clicked for me. I'm like, I just gotta talk to them like they're my dad because my dad's a 62-year-old vet.
Hey,
And
okay,
so
okay, yeah.
it clicked. I started my ad spend with you guys, my campaigns and stuff, and started buying leads with y'all. And it was history from there, man. I became so profitable so fast. It was like I never even want to touch one of the fixed income final expense leads again, man. Like vets is like born and raised what I live at this point. It's all I dial. and
Yeah.
it's take my profitability from, like, to be honest, man, like maybe like two or ROI is like, just times everything by two, and now it's like, 8, 10, 12 sometimes. Like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Dude, I think it's really cool to see like what happens when people transition lead types with the same skill set, man.
Yeah,
It's like, yo, you're putting in the same amount of time and your ROI is significantly bigger because you're
exactly.
talking to a different demographic.
Exactly.
You,
Yeah.
can you explain to the agent who's like trying to transition from filing expense to veteran, like why is that and like what does that look like if they're trying to get from like I kind of want to
Yeah.
get in that same boat. What does that look like and what can they expect?
Yeah, I'll give you like one thing right off the bat is that you got to realize that vets are super to the point. They're direct. So the first thing I learned is I'm not speaking to Miss Betty anymore, who's like, "Oh, Miss Betty, like what would happen if?" No, it's a logical sale now. Everybody talks about life insurance being an emotional sale. To me personally, for veterans, as long as I can get me and that guy on the same page the whole time,
Mm,
he already has his why. So I bring that why up, I find out what he needs it for, and then I just connect all the dots for him. So I'm a little more assertive, I'm a little more downtoned, I'm a little more like get to the point, but it's all out of respect. And the moment he respects me, like it's like boom, like he trusts me now. And that was the biggest switch for me is turning it from like all these emotional questions to more so like nah, vet just wants to get to the point. He wants to protect his family and get it done. Like it's actually that simple. You
you're
bring
good,
that
bro.
type of urgency to them, like man, that was the click for me. That's what I mean by I had to imagine talking to my dad. It's like, no, I'm teaching my dad life insurance. He just wants it to the point. So that's the first thing. And the second thing that's increases profitability if you're ever scared to take the step into vets, these guys' budgets are way up there. I mean, you got to think that the government pays them monthly, a lot of these guys. And so rather than helping, dealing with somebody who's like, oh, keep me under $50 a month because I only make 1,100 a month. A lot of these vets don't have mortgages anymore. They've paid everything off and they're bringing in like anywhere between 3 to 10, sometimes $1,000 a month. So you can imagine how much bigger their budgets are. So if they like you and they got a big budget, retention is like your persistency is already better. So you're writing better business with a more direct sale. And those two alone, I mean, then you just get better sales and then and then
Yeah.
you're just your profitability starts to go up. But those are the two big things I would say. Is it's just more direct and then they have higher budgets which is awesome.
Dude, 100%, bro. Well, I'm pretty sure I did share this when we were at dinner, but I think about it all the time. I'm like, when I sold, it was final expense and mortgage. The IUL
Yeah.
wasn't really popping. Veterans were not a thing. I'm like, yo, if I was selling now, I'd probably do mortgage and veteran. But then as time's going on, especially if we start generating leads, I'm seeing how profitable people are. And then
Yep.
I know with how I sell, I'm like hyper direct. Like I don't really enjoy anything emotional at all, relatively. And I'm like, yo, this makes so much sense. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. But with that being said, let's just transition into that. Let's start from the top. You broke down a few things, but I guess walk me through. Let's start with like, we'll go, I guess, segment by segment, and I can really let you flow if you want to.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to know, brother, like, what's your whole one philosophy of the sale? And what is
Yeah.
your actual psychology of the sale from intro to close? And you can just kind of take the floor
Oh
from
man.
however long.
Dude, I love this, man. So man, I'm so technical. Like I love the psychology of a sale. I could write on a whiteboard for hours teaching people like stuff like this. So for me personally, I got a roadmap that I give all my new guys. I'm like,
Mm,
hey, I'm giving you a roadmap, not a script, because I believe you got to learn how to fail. And I can give you the bullet points, but you got to learn what to say. Like, I'm not going to give you a word for word because you're going to sound like a robot, right? So
right.
my philosophy is going to go right into what I just basically told everybody is that everyone sees life insurance as an emotional sale. And I believe there is emotion involved, but like, I think it's played into too hard nowadays because that person who I'm going to sell, they bring the emotion already. My job is just to, because think of it like a confused prospect never becomes a customer. Like
Correct.
the moment someone's confused, they don't buy. So my job as a doctor-patient relationship, I'm not here to sell them anything. I'm just here to diagnose them and solve their problem. My job is to connect all the dots everywhere in the roadmap, get them to trust me, get them to find their why, pinpoint exactly what the insurance is for, tell them why I specialize with them. I do things to where it's like we're on the same page. I'm not moving on until we both agreed we're here. And then we work together until we get to those options. And then I let them sell themselves. I don't hard close right away, which I'm going to break that down. But just to give you guys the idea, it's like everything I'm doing is just trying to make it blunt and simple. Like it's bland as life insurance. It's not that hard,
Right.
right? And that is my whole philosophy is that you make it simple. You keep them on the same page. You build the value. I mean, you ask a lot of questions because the guy who asks the questions controls the conversation. But through all that, once they trust you, it's a sale, man. Like it really is. So that's kind of my philosophy. But to break down like a quick roadmap, everyone starts with the intro. My intro is super simple. It's just, hey, it's Mr. Jackson here in the state of whatever. I'm a veterans life specialist. How are you doing today? They say good. I'm like, perfect. I can get back to you on the form you just sent in. Your beneficiaries blank. Is really that's my intro every single time. Now where it gets a little different is like from your intro, everyone does discovery, from what I know. So you start to ask them questions, hey, why'd you fill the form out, this and that. So I have a four to five roadmap that I stick to, and they're
Mhm.
all logical questions. So question number one is like, hey, when you filled it out, was it more final expenses, leaving money behind? And then they tell me. If they tell me a cremation, let's say, I'm like, perfect. Did you know in Tennessee the average cremation is this amount? Cool. You understand after you have that in place, everything else is going to be left behind to your wife, correct? So now we're on the same page. He understands only if I have 6,000 of coverage, I'm covered. Everything else I leave behind. Just it's simple, but I just want to make sure we're on that page. Question number two. Okay, you had your beneficiary as blank. What was her name? Okay, is there anybody else on this policy? I'm already closing. On the second question, I'm like 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes in, I'm like 45 seconds in. I'm already pre framing that this policy is theirs. Hey, on this policy, any grandkids, kids, what are we looking to do? No, okay, just your wife. Perfect. Question number three. We're moving into okay, and how long you been looking around? Is this something more recent? Is this something you've been looking around for a while now, or are you just realizing it's important to get done now? That is me building time urgency. It's a logical question. A vet is going to back himself into a corner. He's going to be like, oh, I just need to get it done now. So now I know who his beneficiaries on the policy. He needs to get it done now because he's been looking around for a while and he's pushing it off, like most veterans, is what I would say. And we know what he wants to cover. Question number four. This is how we wrap it all up. Okay, do you have anything right now acting as life insurance? He's going to say yes or no. If he says yes, you dive into it, figure it out. If he says no, you're like, oh, okay, I see why this is important to you. Now, the cool part is you don't move on until you're on the same page. So I work backwards. I work backwards up that roadmap. I complete the whole thing. So it's going to sound like, so John, basically what you're telling me is you don't have anything in place. You've been looking around for a while. You're realizing you need to get it done. And you're just worried that your wife, she's going to be coming out of pocket for your cremation. Is that really what makes sense? And they're going to say, yeah.
That's fire. I like how you did
Yeah.
that. Keep going, bro.
And that's my whole discovery. A lot of people like you can break down little mini questions. I do believe like
Yeah.
you can dig if they're dry because you get dry people sometimes. You got to be like, okay, now you got to work to get some of these words out. But that right there usually works all the time for me. Once I repeat back everything, I'm through my discovery. I'm into what I call my background. So yeah, everything can make sense for the customer, but if they don't trust you and what you do, they don't buy because they got to trust you. You know what I mean? Like it's a relationship.
Right.
So I tell them every single time, hey, John, before we move on, a little background about me. I've been doing this for a few years now. Okay. Now, my job's pretty simple. I'm not trying to confuse them. My job's pretty simple. I work with every top A-rated company in the state. I go find you the cheapest price with the best company. I get you approved. Does that make sense? And he's going to say, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, perfect. So now he knows who I am in my background. He knows what he wants to get done. Now I'm going to tell him why he's special because the riches are in the niches. So I'm going to be exclusive to him. I'm going to say something like, okay, now I do only work with, disabled veterans, or I do only work with veterans here, John. Exclusively work with veterans. I'm just going to verify some service details. What branch did you serve in? What was your MOS? How many years did you serve? Can you verify your date of birth? He goes through those. Okay, perfect, John, great. So now he feels special because it's exclusive. I've learned a little about him. So then we're getting to a close, I promise. Then we
Keep
move.
going, bro. I love it. I have questions too, so just keep going. Go ahead.
You're good, man. So then we get into to health questions, right? And I'm gonna tell. So everyone's like, I have a lot of new agents. They'll say something like, "Man, after I tell them who I am and like their why, how do I even get into health questions? Like, there's like a road bump there." I'm like, you said it's a little life insurance is simple transition. So I hit him with, I'm going to educate him on life insurance. And I'm going to go right into health questions. So now you've kind of seen this roadmap. We're on the same page still. I'm going to say something like, now, John, at the end of the day, man, life insurance is probably the most simple insurance you can find because I don't want them to be confused on a product. The moment they're confused, they don't buy. And he's like, yeah, I know. It's like, okay. So when it comes down to it, it's just based off of age and health. Now, I got you here at 65. I only have four health questions for you, nothing more. Are you a smoker? You know, you ask your four health questions, or I have four. I know other people might have different ones.
What
Break
are
down.
those for the people that don't know, bro? Just real quick.
No, yeah. So my four, are you a smoker? I always start simple because some vets are to the point and they're like, I don't want questions. So I always say four, nothing more, nothing less. Are you a smoker? Now I'm gonna get some sauce. Here you go. So there's a few things that people do psychologically that you'll do that makes people do things. Number one, have something in common, give people compliments, and give people before you ask because inherently people like themselves. They like themselves, so they like to be complimented. And the last thing is when you give somebody something inherently, whether they feel it or not, psychologically, they always want to give you something back. So before I ever ask for personal information from them, I make sure I say the word give like three, four times. I'm saying it. I want to give you this, John, because when you say, I'm so serious, man, it really makes a difference. It's the small things. That's why I
Mm.
think efficiency is high.
Right.
So for me, I'm saying, which I'll get to that point. But right now, I'm saying, are you a smoker? No. Okay. Hey, me neither, John. We got that in common. There's my common. Now we're in common right there. He's also learning I'm straight to the point, which he is as well. Number two, any history of heart attack, stroke, cancer? No. Okay. You know, any diabetes? No. So that's my question too. I just kind of throw it all in there. Number three, how many daily medications do you take prescribed from the doctor? I don't need to know what they're for or what they are, John, just kind of what they're for. Give me a quick breakdown. And he tells me. Number four is going to be your organs. I'm just going to say your important ones, the knockout questions. So you got congestive heart failure, COPD, any kidney or liver disease or failure. A lot, and those are my four right there. If I need to break down something a little extra, you could always say something like, "Are you on a walker on oxygen?" But a lot of times I ask that when I get to the application. But those four alone, I've realized I can almost pinpoint where they're going to get approved pretty quick. Now, once I get through those, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, John. You're making my job easy here, man. I don't see why we couldn't get you one of the cheapest rates in the state. I am required to give you some of my information first, though. Can you grab a pen and a piece of paper? Let me know when you're ready. And then, if they go grab that pen and piece of paper, I don't ask them. You tell people like that. People like to be
Mhm.
told what to do at the end of the day. And then they'll bring it back to you. This is where I said you kind of have to get this. This is where we're getting into the options and the close. So I'm going to give them everything. I'm going to give them my first and last name. Write it down. Cole, Cole, last name Jackson. I'm going to give them my government ID. This is how the state of blank, they see me as a life specialist. That's how I take care of people. My number is this. Now I do ask a favor of you, John. This number is directly tied to everybody I've taken care of in the last few years. So you can refer me to friends and family, but outside of that, I need you to keep that number private. You understand? Okay, perfect. And then this last thing I want to give you, John, this is my personal cell phone number. That way, once we get something in place, I would work for you 24/7. So if you ever have questions, concerns, maybe you want to raise the coverage, all you got to do is shoot me a text. I can get it done with you. Okay. So I'm giving them everything. I'm trying to give them everything. Want them to like get involved. And then I have them write down options A, B, and C. And this is where we get into the close and the application. This is the end of it all, of my roadmap, I would say. Once I get them on A, B, and C, a lot of people do this wrong. The only leverage that you have on somebody when it comes to being on a sale is the price. Everybody wants to know the price. That's the leverage that I have on them. So when I give them options, I say option A, put down option B, put down option C. I ask for their budget. Usually I'm like, okay, now most veterans, every veteran I take care of has a different budget. They have a different income, different expenses. How much would you want to kind of start with to keep this under on a monthly basis? They might give you some pushback. Okay, would you say under 100, 150, 200, higher, lower? Eventually they'll give you the number. So option A is going to be like 50% of the budget. Option B is like 75. Option C is like 90% of the budget. I kind of just rough estimate it. And to be honest, like I just kind of whatever vibes in the moment. But I always stay under that number because I'm trying to write good business. It's all about persistency. And you can always increase. So I'm not worried about that. Then I tell them write down 10,000, write down 15,000, write down 20,000. Now, this is where, in my opinion, a lot of new agents mess up. They rush the discovery. And back to my philosophy here, a confused prospect would never buy. And this is an important decision, right? So I'm going to go as slow as I can to allow them to break everything down and analyze everything for themselves because they're older. And I don't know what they're thinking about. But some people will be like, hey, option A is $30, option B is this or this. And they're like kind of speedy as a new agent. It's like, no, slow down. Take your time. They're on your time right now, right? So option A here, John. Now this John, it's just to get your foot in the door. I'd recommend it if you're wanting to get something small in place, you're just not sure how much coverage you want. It's gonna take care of everything you need. It's gonna leave money behind to your wife, Donna or whatever. And it's just a really good option. It's the cheapest rate in the state. That A option right there is only going to be $35. I know that's way low, but that's just an example.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna take my time. I'm not rushing at all. I'm like taking breaths. I'm like, that's $35. And I'm just gonna sit there. You get that down, John? Yeah, I did. Okay. Now I'm moving on. It sounds so like small, but I promise you it allows them to actually process what they're seeing. Because to a customer, a, B, C, 10,000, 15, 20. That's a lot of numbers at first. Like I see that every day, but from a new angle, they don't. So I want them to actually think about what that number does for them. I do that for every option. Option B is the state recommended amount. I professionally recommend it because it fits in the budget. It's a little more money leaving behind, still takes care of everything you need. Now this option is going to be blank, and then I get to C, finish it up. Here's where the sauce comes in. A lot of people will close right away. Hey, John, which option do you want to go with? I think that's cool. And it works. I've closed a lot of people like that. But what I've done now is I'm like, man, I found a really good closing ratio now to where it's like, how do I get them to sell themselves again and bring up value? So I'll take a break and I'll be like, hey, John, you get those three written down? And he's going to tell me, yeah, it's just me giving him more time to kind of look at everything and to make sure we're on the same page. I'm like, okay, perfect. So I guess looking at those options there, I mean, do you like the B or C or do you think the A makes the most sense? And he's gonna tell me, and he's gonna give me one. Well, I mean, blank. I mean, I kind of like the B, but okay. And now I'm gonna make him sell himself because I'm not trying to sell him. He's gonna sell himself through his own words. Okay, John. So I guess that B option, now I like it too. I guess just tell me, why does that make sense to you? Why does that one stand out? And there he goes. He's gonna start talking, and he sells himself. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm glad we're on the same page. Let's just get that thing, get those paper copies sent out. What's a good address to get them sent to? And then they always shoot their address out, and I get them through an application. So, and then I do my closing
I
remarks.
ain't gonna let bro inspire, bro. Okay, there's so many things I gotta break down. All right, so
Yeah.
we're gonna start. We're gonna start from an intro perspective.
Yeah.
For those that did not catch, I'm gonna kind of try to break this down, but I'm gonna ask him to help me out.
No, go
So
ahead.
from the very, very beginning, when he does the intro, there's so much report. And when I say intro, y'all, I don't mean like, hey, my name, like, hey, it's Cole. Like everybody has that part. You can get past that part. That's fine. I'm talking about he's going right into building value while also asking legit power questions. A lot of people ask power questions because it's on a script rather than asking power questions. Like he's getting the beneficiary, the reason why, essentially, like kind of not necessarily how much coverage, but like the importance of it to him and what it kind of looks like. And then afterwards, he's like regurgitating that back to them. And then he's moving on to the next section. Rather than most people will, after the intro, go straight into, okay, here's my information. Now, I think that's super important because it really locks them in on like why they're here. And if I'm a betting man, just a betting man, you probably have a lot of thorough conversations because you do get right to the point of why you're calling. I think when people start asking a bunch of like, oh, blah, 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 why'd you fill this out type of thing, and they don't give them close-ended responses. Like, did you fill this more out for like cremation, or you're just looking at, okay, this is what this looks like. You're
Mhm.
educating them and grabbing the authority frame from the beginning.
Yes.
Uh,
Yep.
I think the thing I love that you did, and I'm sure you get probably none, any sort of like social or banking objections, is when you, and I don't know who caught this, but like if I was selling, this is what I would do. I love it. You give them all your info right before you ask them important info that they would probably be uncomfortable giving away,
Yeah.
which is super interesting because the timing of it is like, oh yeah, I give them this, so they give you that. The philosophy doesn't change, but your timing is perfect. Like, okay, hey, here's Cole, here's my name, here's my information. Don't give this away. This is important. So it's like now they feel like you've exchanged some level of like a
Exactly.
relationship, and it's secretive, even though that's very intentional with your word track. So when you ask them for something that you wouldn't want, they wouldn't want you to give away, you've already done that. So you've already
Exactly.
went out, like you said, and give, give, give. So now by the time you do ask, it's super hands off. Like, hey, look, man, like I already gave you all that. But that probably is never a question because you framed them from the beginning. That was brilliant, bro.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
It's all about
Yeah.
framing. Yes,
Dude,
sir.
100%,
Yeah.
bro. So for people that are watching, I'm not even gonna mess this swag up. You can just go back and rewind it, honestly, and just like I would honestly write all that down, y'all.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go over like the banking thing too
No,
much.
yeah.
I want to dive into something else. So when you're pitching those options, one thing I do want to know, how are you determining the price? Are you coming up with the price and like how much coverage based off those values at the beginning? Like, oh, I know, okay, he's got to put like 10,000 here, 15, 20. Are you just throwing numbers out? I think I know the answer, but for the people that are
No, yeah.
listening, how are you determining what to actually quote them when you're going through A, B, and C options?
Yeah. I think it comes with a little bit of failure. Like, like you gotta learn the product and stuff. But for me personally, I'm going to make sure I get their budget. And I always make sure to say something like, hey, now, when you're starting to get something in place, how much do you want to keep this under? Because I don't want to go with somebody who's like right away is like, let me throw $800 a month in place. And then he
Right.
cancels the next month because he's like, oh, I shouldn't have started that high. I have so many veterans call me back. They're like, hey, Cole, can we max out the coverage now? And they've already been my customer for 3, 4 months. And I love that because it means I'm doing something right. So how I go about it is I ask their budget right before I get the options. Okay. And I'm going to find out under their budget, what can these coverage amounts do to their why. So if a guy tells me I'm trying to cover final expenses and leaving some money behind, but then he also tells me his budget's only $120, I'm gonna go find the most efficient options under $120 that can take care of his reasoning. So if I have to give him eight, 10, and $12,000 option, I'm gonna be honest with him. Be like, John, now this A option, the 8,000, it's not gonna cover the full burial unless you're getting buried in the VA cemetery. They'll cover the plot, so it will then. But if you're going to be more local with your wife, the A option is only going to take care of about 8,000 of it. It's going to leave about four behind. That option's only blank. I'm very honest. Like, I'm to the point because I'm telling, I'm like, at the end of the day, John, if you can't afford the insurance, I'm not going to sell you the insurance because, if you can't afford it, it's not insurance.
Yeah.
And I make that very clear. And a lot of those vets really respect the fact that I'm that straightforward. I'm like, listen, you either have to raise the budget a bit or you got to lower the expectation because I can't go out there and do magic and just find an amazing price. Like, these are the cheapest prices for you. I'm here to put you in the best position. If I can't do that, I'm not going to get you insurance. And then I'm just very honest with like, hey, John, your budget's only $100. You understand we're going to be kind of pushing that with the coverage amounts. You know that? Well, and then we get to the options. And I just break it down for them.
Yeah.
But I'm
Uh,
always under the options. I'm always under their budget. I never go over.
100%. I love that. And I think for the listeners, what he did right there was he's willing to walk away. He's willing to be honest and transparent enough to walk away and lose the sale. And I think that's super important. A lot of agents are so hungry for that sale that they're kind of willing to say or do whatever. And I think
Exactly.
that just comes with obviously, your door-to-door experience and understanding that like part of it that does give you a frame. Like people trust you more subconsciously when
Yep.
you give them certain word tracks that make them feel like, oh, he's not actually trying to sell me. Like he's willing to say, well, there's really no point in doing this, John, if we can't do something that actually makes sense and we'll make sure that Mary is protected. Does that, and they're like, okay. And so then you're just very honest with them. Dude, that's brilliant, bro. That's brilliant. I want to transition. So tell us a little bit about your like your numbers and stuff, bro. I actually want to know like how did that start? You told me about at dinner you built like a club. But I don't even want to say it wrong, bro. But tell me first of all, when did that start? Were you doing that before you hopped on the Claude Wave and built it out? And then what exactly have you put together for like yourself in terms of like tracking and numbers, bro?
Yeah. So super simple. Started in a Google Sheet. The day I started the business, I started a Google Sheet. I just put like personal expense, income, or business expense, income. Made sure all my numbers look cool. Anytime I spent on licenses, leads, whatever it is, I put it in there. I learned the formulas. It's just like in Google Sheets, so it did all the numbers for me. And then eventually I found Claude, which was like not even a month ago, and I just built out like this net worth dashboard thing that just it has everything connected, as in like my accounts, and it updates every morning. So it allows me to see my breakdown of my yearly income, my monthly income, and my weekly income. It shows like all my expenses to make sure I'm always profiting on the week over the expenses. Because if you're always profiting per week, you're always going to be profitable everywhere else. So I try to make sure I'm profitable every week. And that's kind of like the systems behind it. It started on a Google Sheet, super simple. I actually share it to a lot of my guys still. I'm like, guys, I promise numbers taking care of your numbers and your finances is not that hard. You just have to take the 30 minutes to do it the first time, and it becomes a habit. Because I had like two or three agents underneath me who were like, dude, Cole, like, man, I feel like I'm making money, but like I'm spending a lot of it. I'm like, cool. Just take a moment. I gave them the sheet. I'm like, go sit down, do that. Come back to me when you're done. They came back to me and they were shocked at what they were spending money on. And I'm like, so how do you deposit five figures and still feel broke? And I'm like, let me look. And they were like, dude, bro, I didn't know I spent that much on fast food. I didn't know I spent that much on this. I'm like, do you see how profitable you'd be if you just planned a little better? And
Right.
he's like, dang, bro, like this is crazy. I'm like, all you gotta do is just actually care about your numbers because and I started from day one in the business. That's just how I am. But that's kind of the system I have now. I just use a cloud bot. It refreshes every morning and pulls from all my accounts, make sure everything's up to date, and just keeps me in the green basically.
Yeah, dude, 100%, bro. I think it's brilliant. When you said that, I was like, it's not a lot of agents that even understand the power of numbers and like why it's super important for you to know, like, not only how
Exactly.
much you're spending, but what is your cost to acquire a client? How much is it costing you, not only per
Exactly.
lead, but per booked appointment? And it gives you a lot
All
of,
of it.
dude, when you can just look at it and you're like, all right, this is where I'm at. Because a lot of times we're like, man, I feel like this, I feel like this. It's like a lot in business, there's feelings don't matter. It's just about numbers. It's all logic. It's in
Exactly.
and out. It's like, okay, these are the metrics. This is what we're doing. And the less emotional person always wins when it comes to like helping their
Yep.
business grow and scale.
Fire.
When it comes to ROI though, or I guess like what is your best month in terms of like, since I'm sure you do know your numbers, working with us that you've had from like an IP standpoint, and then in terms of like how much you spent on leads?
Yeah, so that was last month actually. It was one of the months where, man, it was good. It just showed you what was possible with what we're building because now that I'm an agency owner, I don't have I still dial a ton. I'm like I got to be top of the leaderboard for my guys, but I do lay back a bit sometimes on I'm not dialing full time just because every once in a while I'm helping guys close and stuff. So like last month I did 1,400 a week on our leads, and that puts me at like 5.6, so 5,600 on the month, and I wrote like 53,000 in business, all final expense whole life.
Right. So
So
basically a little under 10 is crazy, bro.
yeah, yep,
That's
and
insane.
yeah, it's insane, man. It was pretty insane. And good business too. I don't write bad. I mean, look at the agency name. I don't write bad business. Everything I
Yeah.
do is like good business. High placement rate, profitability wise, like you said, ROI is sitting right under 10. So
Dude, that's amazing, bro. I want to now move into us, like
yeah,
at Agent Lead
fire.
Us, and talk a little bit about. We can start from the top. Like, how has your experience thus far been with us? I think it's been like 7, 8 months or whatever. But just talk about like your personal experience with the team, the leads, etc.
I think it's fire, man. I don't have too much room to complain. I mean, after seeing like, I was 6 months in the business. I guess I was 5 months in the business. I've been working with you guys now four, so I'm 9 months in the business. First 5 months, I was a little profitable. I was kind of buying leads on different vendors, and it was kind of a mess. I was like all over the place. Once I started working with you guys, it was like I had a set number I'd spend every single month, and I just knew, like number. You just said it. It's all a numbers game. I stopped looking at like, oh, that's gonna hit my account. Oh, what's in my account? Like because I knew every Monday this comes out, and I just knew. And communication's always there. I mean, I can hit up for help like literally within an hour or two. You guys get back to me, whether it's I'm like, hey, how's the campaign looking? Just for an update. Yo, what happens if I go up to this much? What do you guys think about this? Like, I like to actually ask a lot of questions in the Discord sometimes. So, especially recently, now that I'm scaling, communication's always there. If I ever have questions about the back end work, you guys are always willing to answer it and actually show me or just be honest. Because I'm not like a professional marketer, but you guys are. So it's cool to be able to be educated as well. So that's awesome. And then overall, just the culture's cool. I mean, the fact that we were able to sit at dinner and just chop it up, like that's a business partner and like even a mentor in some ways for all of us. And it's not even like just a business transaction, which is kind of what I like is I like the personal connection, which is fire.
Yeah, dude, 100%, bro. It's always what I've envisioned is to make sure that like I think all these things people feel like aren't possible when they meet like lead companies. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, like everybody's out to get me, or everybody's just chasing profit. And I mean, off camera, I won't share, but obviously, we had a conversation at dinner just
Yeah.
about like, the reason why I like working with you all, and why I like Wes, and why I like the whole team and everybody, and like at the end of the day, why I want to, build this relationship as well. But I think in a place where, like you said, brother, like it's a lot of like people don't have that relationship. I think it's cool because like I told you and I tell everybody, brother, like I'm an agent at the end of the day. But I'm just like
Yeah,
everybody else, bro. I came from that. I'm not inherently a marketer. That's why you hire great talent. You know what I mean? But at the day, I think it's important for people to have customer service, for people to get good leads, but also to be, man, just transparent, bro. Like people don't
exactly.
care as long as you're just honest and transparent with them about what's going on. Like, hey, dude, this is what's happening. Okay, cool. Here's what it looks like. Okay, it's not really ideal. What can we do? What can we change? Okay, we can't. All right, let's pivot here. Where it gets sticky is where there's all this like ambiguity, and you're kind of like, I don't know, and now you're not able to make those, logical decisions about what's next, bro. To wrap up,
Exactly.
I'll finish with this. Is there anything that you feel like agents should know? Just in general, in terms of like the life insurance space, leads, systems. I'll let you take the floor for this last little segment, brother. Kind of, I guess, spitball whatever you feel like is important that you feel like, anybody should know in terms of the life insurance space.
Yeah, whether you're a new agent or an experienced agent, I've been in 100% commission sales since I've turned 20. Like ever since I hit that two number, I've never gotten a W-2 or whatever those things are called. But the reason I say that is because I genuinely believe that like sales can change your life, and I'm really now diving into, I think, life insurance and just in general finance like this can change your life. So if you're in a position where like you feel like you're not profitable, you think you could be more profitable, whatever it is, I tell all my guys this, and I even preach this to people that aren't even on my team, like just random people in general. Like your culture and who you surround yourself with, and the team you decide to go with, or the environment you put yourself in, 100% in this type of industry decides if you're successful or not. And it's like crazy to say that because I do also believe that like you can be successful anywhere. But like I've noticed in this industry specifically, like you could be some of the most gifted and talented people that have all the sales ability, but like if you don't got the right team and structure and systems and just people that actually care about you around you, like you're not going to be that profitable. And it low key it hurts sometimes because like I want to be the guy, I want to be the agency owner on it within FFL where I'm at, to where people are like, oh man, like there's hella profitable, like we can't let our agents go to them because they're that good. Because I genuinely believe it's all about culture. Like I got guys coming in with no sales experience ever. Like they don't even work customer service jobs. Like they did like hard labor, and they're closing within their first few days because like not only is our culture awesome, we got 12 guys around them like, oh, get ready to close, like whatever, then they close it, hit the hang up button, the whole place goes wild. Like that, if you can be, like I said, independent is cool, but like you can go so much farther. I know a lot of people probably, I don't know how many of you guys are in your faith or whatnot, but the Bible says, three is stronger than two, which is stronger than one. I really believe that. Like you can go really far with the right group of people. So if you're in a place where like you're unhappy or you're not seeing the profits you want, but you think you should be somewhere else, I really recommend zooming out, looking at who you're surrounded by in your environment, because that alone can change everything. I've seen it hands down when I've seen, for example, people on my team who came from other agencies. Like, great example. The person was with them for 5 months, sold a total of $7,000 worth of submitted business. She came down first month with us, she submitted 30. Not even that in a single day, she submitted 8. So she submitted more in a day with us than she did the whole 4 months with her other agency. And I was like, it blew my mind because it was the first time as like someone, as not like a sales leader, just to see that and realize that it really does come down to the people you surround yourself and just, being in the right culture. So I could probably ramble for a long time, but like overarching on everything, like that is what I would leave is that like it's all about community, culture, and environment, and make sure you're in the right spot.
No, 100%, bro. I appreciate you for sharing that because that to me is probably one of the most slept on things that a lot of self-help books, which I love, and like
Yeah,
gurus or whatever don't mention. Is like, bro, environment is literally everything, especially if you're in any sort of sales, because everybody's gonna have a bad day, a bad week, and
exactly.
maybe even a bad month, bro. And it's like the only thing that can help you in that moment if you're just sitting at your crib dialing for 12 hours straight and getting your teeth kicked in is like somebody being beside you closing a deal on the same type of leads, and you're like, all right,
Exactly,
it's
man.
me. It's like I gotta get better. You know what I mean?
Yep,
So I
that's
think that's
fire.
super important, bro. I think it's super important, man. Well, I appreciate you for hopping on, bro. I know people are really going to like this. For those that are watching, if you're interested in working with Cole, just reach out to whoever the rep is that sent you the video, or you can reach out directly to us on the website, and we would be more than happy to, put you in a group message and, help you get connected with my guy. If you have any questions, let us know as well. Outside of that, brother, I appreciate you for hopping on, and I will see you guys next time. Bless.